Hi, I'm Brenna Jasper. I am a crime prevention specialist with the Menominee Police Department, and we are here today talking about Crime Victim Rights Week. So this year it falls April 24th to the 30th, and the whole purpose is to celebrate the accomplishments of the victims' rights movement and reflect on how far we've come. Since 1981, the National Crime Victim Rights Week challenged the nation to confront and remove the barriers to achieve justice for all victims of crime. Victims have always had rights pursuant to Chapter 950, but with the passing of Marcys Law in Wisconsin back in April of 2020, additional rights are now being provided to statutory victims. So thanks to Jamie and Chad for joining me today. I'll let them introduce themselves really quickly.
Jamie, I'm the Victim Witness Coordinator here in Dunn County.
Hi, I'm Chad Marzinski. I'm a Detective Lieutenant with the Menominee Police Department.
All right, thanks. So I talked a little bit about Crime Victim Rights Week, but to really look at what that means, we need to talk about crime victim rights in Wisconsin. So Jamie, could you shed some light on that for us?
Sure. Well, first of all, it's really important for victims to be treated with dignity and respect, and to also provide privacy to victims. Many victims enforce their right to be notified and attend all of the court proceedings. With COVID, we have been able to provide victims with Zoom information, which has been helpful when people cannot appear in person, or maybe they don't want to appear here in person. So Zoom links have been very helpful for court proceedings. We also have a lot of victims who exercise their right to confer with the assigned prosecutor. They do this to provide input on possible plea negotiations. A right that was added after the passing of Marcys Law is the right to be heard. We often accompany individuals to court who wish to make a statement, whether that is at a bail bond hearing, right at the beginning of a case, at a sentencing hearing, or even a revocation hearing. People can really be empowered by having a voice and having that voice be heard in court.
Yeah, that's totally understandable. And you mentioned Marcys Law. That's come up now a couple of times. Can you elaborate on what that is?
Yep. So Marcys Law is an amendment that was added to the Constitution back in April of 2020. That amendment really gives victims additional rights and even strengthening the rights that are already existing. It ensures victims of crime have the right to be heard throughout the entire criminal justice process.
Looking at Marcys Law then, and looking at crime victim rights throughout the whole criminal justice process, like you just said, Jamie, Chad, now can you speak to what that means during the investigative part of that process?
The biggest impact that it has on an investigative process is just getting victim witness office involved earlier in the investigation. So, typically if we know that we're going to be meeting with the victim, we try to contact Jamie in her office to try to have somebody meet with us right away. So that's been the biggest impact for us anyways, is just having somebody there with us earlier in the investigation versus at the end of it.
Well, and that has to be amazing too, to connect victims with resources sooner and have somebody by their side going through that process too. That has to be very helpful. So that kind of leads into my next question. So what is the role of the victim witness office, and both in that sense and then in the overall court process as well?
Sure. So the Victim Witness Office is really under the whole umbrella of the District Attorney's Office here in Dunn County. The focus is really just the role of victims in the legal process. We help to ensure that victims can fully exercise their rights under Chapter 950 and Marcys Law. We often hear how difficult it is for victims of crime to navigate the legal system. And so we hope to lessen that burden by walking alongside them to provide support and all the information that we can, and education along the way too.
Awesome. And how do you in your office with victim witness and investigations, whether it's with us or other departments, how do you work together to both help that victim through the process and have a as good an outcome as possible for them?
Well, law enforcement is typically the initial point of contact for crime victims. So they're, gathering the information while building rapport right on the scene. So law enforcement has a lot of good information on the forefront of these cases. So as often as we can, we'll take a collaborative team approach in reaching out to victims and providing information to them.
Great. Chad, do you have anything to add about how how you even individually work with victim witness for cases?
Yeah, definitely. My first and foremost, my thanks go to Jamie and her office for the phenomenal work that they do with victims. I think that they work well with them. They support them. They do a great job, and it really helps us out in investigations because we can focus in on trying to get justice for the victims. I think a part of that was lost. Early in my career, I've been on the job for 21 years now, and earlier in my career, we would kind of lose sight of that, helping out the victim and recognizing that the victim might need to be informed or be part of the conversation piece of what's going to happen next, because of the fact that we're trying to gather information, gather evidence, talk to witnesses, talk to suspects, and so we have a lot going on in the forefront. And so I think in the last few years that we've been working with Jamie and her office, it's nice to have them with us, going along with the victim, to be able to be with them, show them the support, offer up anything that they can give them to get them through what it is that they're dealing with. And so that really helps us out in law enforcement in investigating some of these crimes. So it's a great resource. Great. Thanks, Jamie, for all you guys do.
You're welcome.
So what does that collaboration and working together mean for victims?
Well, I think, it means that they're not walking this journey alone, that law enforcement and victim services are both providing information and the resources to crime victims so that they can stay informed and educated of all of their rights to the best of our ability.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us and having us helping us learn a little bit more about what it is that you do and in celebrating Crime Victims' Rights Week.
Yeah, thank you.